Bon qui, je m'appelle Ross Twiddell from Cultaholic, your reigning and defending Cultaholic heavyweight champion, and welcome to all these WTF moments from this week's Monday Night Raw. A Monday Night Raw that by and large was all kinds of meh. On the good side, of course, we had a good promo from Becky Lynch, who got rid of the bollocks there. She's back to being the normal man we know and love. We had a good little match from Angel Garza and Ronald Mysterio, and we had Edge's face. That Viking bastard should enter some sort of gurning competition because that face of his can go in all kinds of directions. It was fantastic stuff. But the rest of the show, yes, we saw a murder to relate it to Taggart and Scotland and Drew McIntyre. But it was just a bit through the motions, wasn't it? WTF! One Cultaholic sign in Washington, D.C. at this week's Raw, and thank you goes out to Babana Not on the Twitter machine for spreading the good name of Cultaholic and our new logo throughout the WWE universe. But I guess if you were reading that logo, you could also say... And as I said at the top of the video, a welcome return for Becky Lynch, who was not being a massive weapon on this week's Raw. Normally, I would have said that Becky Lynch was not being a massive C-O-C-K womble, but it turns out that YouTube don't like us saying that word, which is a WTF moment all by itself, isn't it? You cannot say anything these days. Anyway, after this promo and return to form for Becky Lynch on this week's Raw, this theory that she was being overconfident before being smacked around like a bitch at the hands of Shayna Baszler at WrestleMania, that theory looks a little bit less likely now, doesn't it? It just makes you wonder why Becky Lynch, from my point of view anyway. You might agree, you might disagree. It just baffles you as to why WWE would make her so overconfident, so cocky, and so, Christian from 2001 that you would hate her. Just for a few weeks to go back again. I don't get it. Y-O-U-R-E. You are small child. Tut. I'm going to hell. We have a new thing that's going to be shoved down our throats every single minute of every single WWE show. Professional wrestling fans, rejoice! Because now, as we're stood here, Shayna Baszler is not just called Shayna Baszler, she is now called the Cage Fighter, Shayna Baszler. Every single time her name was mentioned at the start of this week's Raw, it wasn't just plain old Shayna Baszler, it's the Cage Fighter, Shayna Baszler. And you know why they're doing it, don't you? It's because we're stupid, aren't we, wrestling fans? We can't even wipe our own bums, can we? We know how to Google, man, WWE. We hear Shayna Baszler. When she mentions her past, we think, oh, that's good for her. We know what's going on. We do not need it spelled out every single time that her name is mentioned, that she's a threat, she's a cage fighter, she's a legitimate fighter. We can decipher things all by ourselves, even though saying that, the Cage Fighter, Shayna Baszler, kicks ass and takes names, doesn't it? Now you see, Michael Cole and everybody on Friday Night SmackDown, Becky Lynch, she knows the crack. She said that Shayna Baszler has the longest combined reign in NXT Women's Championship history, which is absolutely spotty dog. It is correct, and it just makes all of that bollocks surrounding Bayley's Friday Night SmackDown Women's Championship reign all the more bewildering. And I might be a bitch there, but I'm the bitch that runs this division, said Becky Lynch. Now my sleeping pattern gets flipped upside down during these pay-per-view weeks, so I was awake while Raw was happening, and I looked at Twitter while Becky Lynch was cutting that promo there, so I saw Alexa Bliss tell everybody, and then some more people, that she said that very line that Becky Lynch said there on SmackDown a long time ago. And even though, Alexa, that line there is anything but a catchphrase for you, as far as I can see, I guess I've got to make it a WTF moment, because if I didn't, the people who like you would come and shoot me with actual guns. They wouldn't do that, but you know what I'm saying. That woman is being sensible, yet Angel Garza he's being reckless. And I know everyone's sick of hearing about that pissing virus, but Angel Garza doesn't even believe it's real, which is another WTF moment. Let's stop talking about the virus. Now, hey, Rhea Ripley, this is not the first time somebody from NXT will be appearing on the WrestleMania card. My pal, my close personal friend, who I said upwards of 3 words to once about 4 years ago, Killian Dane, he was on the WrestleMania card all the way back at WrestleMania 33, even though he was an NXT superstar. So, and I know that's not quite the same as you doing this groundbreaking thing by defending your NXT Women's Championship on the main WrestleMania card for the first time ever, Rhea Ripley. But as I said, I've said like 3 or 4 words to Killian Dane a few years ago, so you don't besmirch him on my watch, right? So then we have Charlotte Flair, who kicks off her promo on the Raw the night after Elimination Chamber 2020, where some things happened, by saying, "Ladies and gentlemen, did you see that package?" Aye, we all did, Charlotte, and I still can't get over how bloody smooth it looked. He looks like an action man. And then we have a direct quote from Charlotte Flair once again, who says directly to Rhea Ripley, "You don't want to be anything like me because you want to be yourself. I'm going to make one point. You are not me. You will never be me. There is only one of me." Well, first of all, Charlotte, that was 3 points there. And secondly, yeah, Rhea Ripley does want to be herself. That entire promo package you're referencing right there was all about how Rhea Ripley arrived in WWE and everyone was saying, "Oh, you've got blonde hair, you've got big muscles, you're just like Charlotte Flair." So she did a blazing squad. She flipped reversed the entire thing. She made herself as different to you as humanly possible, yet you're stood there on Raw treating her like she wants to be you, when we just had 5 minutes of her saying no, the opposite. And then we get to Rhea's punch on Charlotte Flair, and I've got to admit, I'm a lover, not a fighter. I know nothing about fighting whatsoever, but Rhea Ripley, man, come on, woman, doing that to Charlotte Flair, and then Charlotte Flair, you selling that, whatever that thing was, by doing the thing a really bad actress would do in a really bad stage play by going, "Oh!" and falling down really slowly. How well, lasses, come on. Rhea, man, left, right, come at that bitch. And Charlotte, if you're gonna sell a knock to the face, don't just go like a pissing goldfish, like you've just been told that somebody's taking your packet of chips, because nobody likes that, do they? Grab your face and go, "Owie wowie, that really hurt, that did." It just felt all wrong, didn't it, that little sequence there, which means, of course, it's fantastic professional wrestling. Let's move on, I'm very sorry. And then we get to Tom Phillips once again doing what he does best, face fornicating the poo out of the line on commentary when he claims that Erick Rowan has been on a path of destruction on Monday Night Raw. He beats the local talent, of course, but then he loses to actual professional wrestlers. Yes, he beat about 50,000 jobbers over 50,000 weeks for a very long time, but then he lost to R-Truth in that block of ice piss trophy in Saudi Arabia, and then he's lost to Aleister Black as well on Raw in recent times. And I was left there thinking, after hearing that from Tom Phillips, the only destruction surrounding Erick Rowan at this time is creative, destructing that man's career once again with that stupid bollocks involving that stupid fake spider. See you later, Eric. How do you come back from that? Months we spent building up to Erick Rowan revealing a stupid fake big old toy spider, and then 1 week later it's killed off. I mean, on one hand, good, because the longer big stupid Erick Rowan spent pretending that big stupid toy spider was real, that malarkey, that can get in the bin. But on the other hand, you look at the build-up against the payoff, and it's unbelievable, isn't it? And I've seen a load of people on Twitter going, "Oh, Drew McIntyre, how can you be a leading baby face? You killed an innocent spider." Nah, that wasn't a spider. What Drew McIntyre did there is what any disgruntled child would do if they got a big, furry, stupid spider for Christmas. That spider belongs in the bin. And then we get to Jerry Lawler saying that he didn't think there was any interaction between the 3 members of the Riot Squad, or the old Riot Squad, at the Elimination Chamber on Sunday. Emerald Riot and Sarah Logan there. And then we had yet another commentator whose name begins with a J getting a professional wrestler's name wrong, as Jerry the King Lawler called Asuka Aksana. And no offense to Aksana, of course, but her and Asuka Those are two very different things. I reckon Aksana being mistaken for Asuka, or the other way around. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm really burned out. That is the nicest thing anybody relating to professional wrestling has ever said about Aksana. I reckon she was delighted. Still wrong though, Jerry.
What I do see is a broken down old man named Mark Calloway. Undertaker should have retired 10 years ago when he was in his prime. What you gotta lose, Undertaker? You lost your dignity, your pride, and your mystique. You're just a broken old man.
That was not Randy Newman. Those were the words of AJ Styles. And apart from the comment about retiring 10 years ago, I wouldn't say 10 years ago, I would say maybe 6. When the streak ended. That's when he should have went. But apart from that, are you spotting any lies there? AJ's meant to be the heel here. Isn't it just funny, right? It's funny how the world works out sometimes, isn't it? Because of course last week we saw Michelle McCool blasting the staff at WWE.com for leaving her out of a gallery celebrating the women's superstars of the past as we celebrated International Women's Day. She was the wife of The Undertaker. She's now more, she was saying, when in fact she's a former 4 times Women's/Divas champion and she should be recognised. Of course she should. But isn't it just funny? Isn't it? It's just funny how the first Raw after this happened, Michelle McCool is now written into The Undertaker versus AJ Styles rivalry as being some sort of arsehole gold digger who sits at home doing nothing, forcing The Undertaker to come back time and time again so he can earn the money she can spend on some nice things. It's just funny how that worked out, isn't it? Once more, we have to have it clarified that the 24/7 title is on the line when the Riddick regimen, whatever that means, came out to defend the supposed 24/7 championship, which of course, as I've said many times this week, needs to be renamed to the 3/1 championship. 3 minutes on one day. What's the point? Edge and MVP in the ring while Randy Orton is getting called out? What bloody year is it? Anyway, to make these WTF moment shows work, I've got to look at WWE within the realms of kayfabe. If I didn't, I'd just go, oh, it's fake. And we wouldn't have any WTF moments, would we? So to build up Edge's big return to Raw, Edge turned up to the arena late, but crucially, he turned up to the arena at the exact moment MVP was speaking about Edge. So in the realms of kayfabe, Edge did not arrive at the arena because Edge was sat in his big black car watching Raw on his mobile phone around the corner from the arena. How else did Edge know when exactly to drive into the arena and walk out to the ring? How else could he have seen MVP speaking about him? So I'm asking Edge, what the hell are you doing sitting in your car watching Raw on your mobile telephone? Bit weird, isn't it?
Creepy goose.
And then Edge did an RKO, and that was strange, wasn't it? Aye. But then we learn that Edge has been learning the professional wrestling from the very best, the cream of the crop, the tip at the top. Who else does that submission hold in the world of professional wrestling today? I hear you ask, and I tell you, it's Mr. Jake Hager, the life and soul, the bloody bollocks at 5-Star Wrestling. You see, Edge learning 5-Star Wrestling from Mr. 5-Star Wrestling. No wonder he's going to be in the main event of WrestleMania. It's got to be the main event match, hasn't it? I know it won't be, but it's got to. People of Washington, D.C., do you really take popcorn from a stranger? This, as we all know, is too big of a risk, and in the future you need to be more careful because, as we all know, the man you are taking popcorn from there has threatened to quite literally crucify another living human being numerous times over the past few weeks. If he's making threats like that, you simply cannot put it past him that he would have laced that popcorn with some sort of thing that'll kill you. Yet you're still eating it. Bit weird. Does anybody know if Aleister Black is okay? There he was having his match against Seth Rollins before the movement, which is apparently that stable's new name, gets involved and beats down Aleister Black so hard that Aleister Black is rendered down to nothing more than some powder, which is blown away from the ringside area. Why did Aleister Black disappear, and why was Aleister Black not involved in that subsequent 8-man tag team match? It was weird how he just vanished, wasn't it? And then we had Jerry Lawler saying that he doesn't like Montez Ford because of what Montez Ford did at Elimination Chamber. For those who missed it, during his entrance, of course, Big Terry Ford got on the announcer's table right in front of the head of one Jerry Lawler and started humping the air right in front of Jerry's head. And it was fantastic to see and hear Jerry Lawler all riled up, wasn't it? He looked very uncomfortable. And you see, Jerry, it's not nice when you make other people feel uncomfortable now, is it? Anyway, Byron Saxton claimed the moment I've just described there happened after Montez and Angelo retained their Raw Tag Team titles. And no, it did not, everybody. It happened before. And I'm only making this a WTF moment just in case you didn't see Elimination Chamber, but want to see and hear Jerry Lawler squirm. A moment you would not be seeing if you listened to Byron Saxton there. This is a PSA, this. And we end with the curious case that is Trevor Ricochet. 11 days after he challenged Brock Lesnar for the WWE Championship, he has fallen all the way through Riddick Moss. He's kept going. There's lower than that, believe it or not. And now he's on the main event taping that took place before this week's Raw wrestling Eric Young. That is unprecedented. That is unbelievable. That is Trevor. I feel sorry for Trevor. And that is it for your WTF moments for this week's Raw. Bloody hell, this week is long, isn't it? I'll see you tomorrow for some more. I just want to enjoy wrestling for once, man.